Yeah, no, I feel like it always takes a little bit before folks join, anyways.
Yeah.
So did you get a new lighting setup too?
No, I'm just always messing with things. You know how it is. I got the new desk all set up, and so now I got to adjust everything else.
Oh no, we got some.
Yeah, echo from me.
Uh, oh man, because I there we go. Close out my YouTube.
Uh,
There we go. I had two of the YouTube stuff open, so
gotcha.
that's where I was an echo.
That'll do it.
Bible Belt. There we go. Chad, can you hear us okay now?
Got nothing?
Man, I did a little test with him earlier, but I was chatting with him on the phone.
For some reason I'm here.
You're good, Chad, because no one's on yet, so we can still try to mess around with it.
I cannot. I can't. Audio.
What about now, Chad? Working through some technical difficulties here, guys. There we go.
Hit X. Hit the X. Okay. Chat. Hang on, go down to more.
I did.
Can they hear you?
They can hear me, but I can't hear them.
Oh, I just heard him, I think. Say something.
Yeah. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Chad.
Yeah.
All right, now I can hear them.
Cool.
Having some technical difficulties here,
He just
folks.
needed his wife, that's all.
Don't we all?
Hey, Chad, I know we're just now getting it's 7:19. We don't have anyone on yet. I'll try to give it a few moments here, and then we can officially get started.
Say what?
I said I was going to give it another minute or two, see before see if anyone joins.
Yeah, all right. Yep, I should be good to go.
Cool.
Nope.
Plugging up some battery today.
Oh, I can hear them.
All right. Do one last sound check, Chad. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Cool. All right, why don't we go ahead and get started? It's Thursday. Just kind of chatting with some of our buddies here, talking a little bit about fishing today. We got a special guest. I invited Bible Belt. I'm sure y'all have heard from Bible Belt from his YouTube channel, but this is the first time he's on mine. And so, Chad, I'll let you introduce yourself real quick.
I'm Chad, and if you don't know me, Bible Belt Fishing is my YouTube handle that I go by. Just a local guy here in Mount Juliet, just like the other guys. Trying to be like Alex Robert here and do some BFL. So I'm finally getting into mine after watching his videos from last year and this year. So I have to get into some.
Nice. Alex, I think you just posted your recent trip, right? I think it launched around 6:30. I was out and about, and so I didn't get to watch it yet.
Yeah, man. Just when I have these tournaments, I try to get that video out as soon as I can. So first Bass Nation tournament videos out there. It was a 14th place finish, catching them all day. I mean, it's a long video just because we caught so many fish. So that's a good thing. But excited for that one.
So when you say a long video, is it like a 10-minute video or a 15-minute plus video?
That's like 27 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But the whole point of those to me is to tell the story of the day and to fully tell the story of what happened. I wasn't going to cut it short. So just went for it.
That's awesome that you got plenty of content, for 20 plus minutes. I feel like it takes me about 5 videos to get to 25 minutes. I don't catch enough fish like you all to have anything drag out that long. So,
Well, we were just catching them all day, man. I mean, I had a limit by like 9 o'clock, and then just kept catching them all day long. I cold twice, and it was a really good tournament. So anytime you have something like that, you try to capture the whole story.
Yeah. So what state was that? Was in Alabama?
Yeah, it was Lake Martin, which is South Alabama, down there by Auburn.
Cool. Chad, you still in there?
Looks like he might be frozen.
Let me try to do this one. We're gonna have two of them. Let's see.
Oh, boy.
I'm gonna remove this one.
Too much Chad.
That's double the fish in there.
That's double the Bible.
So Chad, Alex was talking about how we just finished a Bass Nation tournament in Alabama. Have you ever done any fishing out that way?
No, I have not. The furthest south that I've gotten is here in Tennessee. 'Cause I lived, I'll say 38 years of my life up in Pennsylvania, so I didn't get too far south. I did a lot of fishing in PA, New York, Maine, Connecticut, the Great Lakes, of course. So I haven't done them.
Fishing's a little different than down here in the South.
Yes. Up north, barely ever used crankbaits, barely ever used. The only thing I used was maybe a spinner bait, a buzz bait, and everything else was just like, I would say like worms. You didn't even use a wacky rig. You would use almost like a weightless Senko.
So you've been fishing for a while then, huh?
I've been fishing since I was a kid on my dad's boat. We used to go up to New York all the time to Black Lake. We went up to Canada to Lake Charleston, right past 1,000 Island Lakes up in New York. So, I mean, we would go from trout fishing where we're using a downrigger all the way down at 200 feet to catch fish.
Yeah.
So, like that, a lot of tiger muskie, walleye, perch, a lot of stuff that you don't have down here.
Wow.
Yeah. But I feel like
wild bite, ain't it?
Oh, it's great, especially the tiger muskie.
Yeah. I feel like multi-species fishing makes you a better bass fisherman just because you get exposed to different fish behavior, get exposed to different techniques, just makes you more versatile. What do you think about that?
I do, but I will say because a lot of the river systems, especially with like tiger muskie and like pike, they just come out of nowhere. They're like, I would say, very, very territorial with their stuff, and like they'll just come out of nowhere, and you'll just see like a wake, and they just come flying in at whatever bait that you're using.
Do you do like the little figure eight around the boat when you fish for those? Is it muskie and North you have to do that, or just one of them?
If they get to the boat and don't take your lure, they tell you to do that. But a lot of times, like when I was younger, I just gave up. I just cast it back out.
Yeah. Man, that had to be wild as a kid trying to catch some of those things. I imagine as an adult, I'd be pretty pumped to catch something that big.
I think my first muskie, was when I was 12, and I think that was like 3.5 feet long.
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah. Speaking of big fish, Chad, I'm sure you've seen Alex post some pictures of some stripers there at Old Hickory. I know you fish a lot at Old Hickory. Have you landed any big stripers or anything that you thinking about hunting them down to, or you sticking to bass?
I'm a little jealous because he just goes out and he just makes it look easy. You know what I mean? He's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna go do some striper fishing, and you wait to see his video, and he just has like all these monsters that he catches. But no, I only caught one, and that was by accident. I caught him in like 3 feet of water on a crankbait.
I can't take credit for it, man. It's all about Tyler. Get a trip with him if you really want to experience it, because he's the best in the business. I don't think there's any question about that.
See, I went striper fishing back home, but we would go out at nighttime and it was warm. So,
Yeah.
We had what they call fishing seasons back, because I'm not used to being able to fish for bass all year round, because back home you can't right now.
Right.
And there's certain areas on lakes you aren't even allowed in, or else you will get a fine, because that's where they go to spawn. You can't even have your boat in that area.
You talk about the striper spawning or just the fish in general?
Just certain like bass in general now. Like if you get caught in those areas, like you can't even have like a bass lure on. Like in Pennsylvania, they're out of season. You can't even fish for them.
Well, then you got hard water part of the year too, right?
Yeah. But when we would use like the bait fish, like when I would go out with my dad, we'd probably go around at 10 o'clock at night. We'd have a net, but we'd have like a little neon green light, and we'd stick it in the water and catch little alleyes and put them in the boat. which we have probably about 100 of them, but we keep them in a live well, and then we cast them out closer to the shorelines because they would push the bait up against the shorelines, like in the summer, like at nighttime, and just let it sit there and just let it roam around.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. It can be really fun, just a really relaxing. You're not worried about casting right or reeling, or you're just having a good time.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. So one thing that talking about fishing up north, one thing you did mention, I thought you would, is a drop shot. Not a drop shot guy?
They didn't use that back then. Like I'm actually talking. Yeah, I would say in the past 5 or 6 years the drop shot picked up.
Okay. So what was so let's say you're going out to one of the Great Lakes, whichever one was closest to you. You're going to target smallmouth. What are you pulling out back then before the drop shot really came into
I would
prevalence?
a finesse style jig size wise, but I'd go about a half ounce.
Okay. Just because of that deeper water? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to get down deep, but a smaller profile.
Yeah.
And then we even used a lot of the, what they call like those wobble heads, you know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
3 of them, quarter-ounce weight, and then you just put like a creature bait on it. Just chuck it out there and just slowly wind it in off the bottom. Just let it bounce off every rock.
Sure.
So you having to look for those rock piles? Like, did y'all have like a good graph, or you felt like a lot of it was rock?
My dad growing up, that's how I knew. So it was kind of like my dad knew. So whenever we went out fishing, we went to specific places on the lake, and that's where we just fished every single time.
Well, because the cool thing about I love fishing grass, but it moves all the time. Like I'm going to Gunnersville this weekend. Grass moves year round. Like you can't just go to the same mats every single year. A rock doesn't really move, especially on those glacier lakes. Like those fish are gonna go to the same rocks every year, and it may not be the same fish, it may not be the same number, but like the rock isn't gonna move. So that's a cool thing.
That's what was nice, because the majority of the lakes are all man-made back in Pennsylvania. So they're all, you could be, if you use these electronics that you have now, you will see houses underwater and everything else. But my dad grew up there when they actually flooded them. So he knows the old town of where the old schoolhouse was, where the church was, and all this stuff. And they like to hang around there. But he didn't have that great of electronics. You just had to try not to get hung up on something down there.
That's why you like that wobble head, right?
Yeah. I could actually just cast it out and just slowly go and let it go up and over stuff and have it exposed.
Yep. That's cool.
What about zebra mussels? Do they have those up there? I hear
Not where I was at in Pennsylvania. They did have some that started to take over some lakes in New York.
That's only really been a thing in the past, like 10 or 15 years, maybe?
Yeah.
They haven't been around that long.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So when did you move to Tennessee?
The end of 2009, end of 2018.
Okay. So what do you think the biggest change was in terms of the fishing, not just the culture, but the style, the approach? What was the biggest change when you moved from up there to down here?
I had to switch my whole style up of fast moving baits down here, because if you would go to a normal, I would say colored bass, they're that dark green, blackish bass back home, like a largemouth.
Yeah.
They're very, 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 very dark. Versus down here, you can have ones that are white, like really light colored.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of trees, timber, sticks, and it was just like it was a clear lake. Like if you would take a clear glass and put water in it, it will be clear. But if you look down, it just had that dark green, murky water.
Huh.
You feel like the fish were bigger? Are they fighting different up there?
Smallmouth, they fought harder, I will say, but I've only been to Old Hickory Lake, Percy Priest, and the Cumberland River. I mean, I fished Center Hill a couple times, but I only caught 2 or 3 there. But the smallmouth back there in the river system is where it fought a lot harder. But you also took a risk, though, because you also had pike in there, too. So a lot of times you're going to go to set the hook and there's nothing there. Like your bait's gone, everything's gone. And that's a pike. And don't forget, you got pickerel. So you have pike, pickerel, and muskie, plus you're fishing for bass. So you hope you don't catch one of those because your lures are going to be gone.
It's always crazy to me seeing these Florida tournaments where they have pickerel because it just doesn't seem like a fish that would be able to live in water like warmer water like that. But they've got them in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So some of those guys talk about that.
They hate them.
Smaller northern pike or something.
It's a different species. They're a little smaller. Yeah, they're just different. They look pretty similar. Like I think a lot of the guys just call them pike. But pike can be fun if you're actually targeting them, like with a steel leader and stuff like that. They hit and they fight hard. It's kind of like a lot of the bass guys here don't really like catching striper because it's easy. I think it's super fun.
Yeah, pike back home, like I always use a 50-pound leader. Like if I was going for muskie or something, I always use a 50-pound leader. Purposely.
Got Brandon up in here now. What's up, dude?
What's up, fellas?
What's going on?
Oh, not much, man.
We got the whole squad.
Yeah,
Right.
That's a last minute thing. And like an hour ago, I was still finishing the happy hour and having a few drinks with some work folks, and made a few calls and texts on the way in, and just chatting fishing with my buddies. What a better way to end the night,
Right.
So Brandon, we were talking to Chad about fishing up north and catching northern pike, muskie, and all of the fun stuff. Have you ever done any type of that type of fishing? Been up north?
I have not. Now I've caught a couple of them as bycatch. Big muskie one time, but that was actually on Dale Hollow, I think.
Oh, really?
It was either Dale Hollow or Old Hickory. I can't remember. It was one of them two. A long time ago, probably 20 years ago.
Well,
Chad, you got to get to Del Hollow, man. They're supposed to have some really good smallmouth up that way.
Dude, I'd love to go up there. I'd love to go to St. Lawrence or what's the other one? Anywhere up in New York, Wisconsin, yeah, all that. I'd love to go up there.
I do miss it. I'd be ice fishing right now. I do miss it.
Yeah,
I bet.
Got that hard water.
Yep.
You're supposed to eat that.
There's some big smallies in Dale Hollow, but that don't help us on the BFLs because that slot limit. But you can catch a big one in there, that's for sure.
You got to catch a big one.
Yeah. Actually, me and Chad were talking last night. A 21-inch smallmouth. That ain't no slouch. That's probably. That's at least a 4-pounder.
Easily. Yeah. Yeah, you'll catch a 5-pounder. You can't weigh in up there. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, right.
It's crazy. But Chad, you just signed up for your first BFL, right?
Correct.
And is it the first one up there on like March 11th or something?
Yep.
Fishing as a boater?
No, I'm going in as a co-angler for this year until I get my new boat.
That's good. I think that's a smart decision. That's whenever I get asked like, hey, how do I get into the tournament scene? How do I learn this stuff? It's like, listen, YouTube is great and there's a lot of good information out there. But being a co-angler will whip you into shape really quickly.
Well, my whole theory is, all right, it's $100 per tournament, $100 some bucks per tournament. Now, what better way can I learn on a lake that I do not fish than go out in a tournament and actually fish it, but mainly pay attention to how these people are setting themselves up to catch fish on these lakes. So eventually when I go by myself, I have a gist of what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you also learn a lot of what not to do as well, not just what to do, because you notice certain things of not just like people who are doing something wrong, something you may not want to do. How people set up on an area or how they approach it or how they look at the graph, how the day goes. That's part of the reason I love doing these videos is because I can look back and review my entire season, be like, where did I mess up? What did I do wrong? What things can I learn? It's a really great environment to learn.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm just glad that we're going to lakes that I'm not familiar with.
Yeah.
When it comes to the 2 tournaments on Old Hickory, it doesn't matter because how you want to play it from what they say is you want to be doing the opposite what, the boater's doing. You want to, not doing the same exact thing as he's actually doing. So when it comes to Old Hickory, I already have everything that I will counter whoever the boaters are going to be up front because I know the lake.
Right.
So I already know when and where I can throw my swim jigs. All right, if he's doing this, I could throw a swim jig here. Or if it's a little dirtier, I could throw a chatterbait here because of the water. I already know the majority of places where these boaters are going to go. So I can play my own personal game that way. Now, when I get to deep water like Dale Hollow that I haven't fished yet, I have no idea. So I'm bringing deeper stuff, and I'm gonna pay attention to what he's doing, so I can try to do the opposite.
Yeah. Well, and it's not I wouldn't say it's a hard and fast rule that you got to do the opposite, but in general, it's a good strategy to start with because if say you're he's flipping and pitching, and you're out there throwing a spinner ready for fishing grass or whatever it is, one of you may get bit. So it's not necessarily about I don't want to catch fish the same way. It's more about establishing a pattern.
Yeah.
Boomer.
But it's not a hard and fast rule. Like if your boater gets to catching them on something and you can do it from the back of the boat, you better get on it because catching fish.
Oh, absolutely. And like I don't like to call it opposite. Like I call it complementary lures.
Yeah.
Like if he's throwing a whopper plopper, maybe I throw a buzzbait. If he's flipping a jig, maybe I'm flipping a creature. I mean, it doesn't have to be totally opposite. You know what I mean?
Well, I was using that for like an instance. Like if he's using a jig, I can use a drop shot. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm going the opposite style, but we're playing deeper water. I'm going to go a little different than him, unless he starts catching fish left and right. And I know he's using a brown, orange, and jig, or a green like pumpkin jig, and he's like 5 fish to my none in an hour, and I'm like, all right, I gotta switch.
Yeah. There's always the thing I've learned the most in the past year is that there are no rules. Like, all the things. There's some stuff that I like to try to cling to. The rules, the book on bass fishing. It's good to know. But if you get an instinct to start, if you notice something or if your gut tells you something, that's like jump on it, go for it. You're usually not wrong.
My gut, no matter where I go, is going to be a crankbait right off the bat. That is my go-to. Period.
I'm the same way.
I will have one for every depth. I'll have a shallow, mid-range, and I'll have a 20-foot diver. That's because that's my confidence bait. That and a chatterbait. Yeah. That's why I was saying when it would come to say Old Hickory or Percy Priest, but there is none on Percy Priest this year. I know I can throw that a chatterbait. I can throw that down to 15 feet. I can go on, an ounce and a quarter, an ounce and a half chatterbait. So that's something different that a lot of people don't throw, but I could be down there and be different than you, but be doing somewhat the same thing that you're doing down deep.
One of the challenges when you are cranking as a co is having different setups for each crankbait, for each depth. Like if it was up to me, I could have, I'd have 5 crankbait pods with me, but you can't really do that as a co because you're going to be limiting how much you can actually take with you. That's not a crankbait. So it's something you're going to have to figure out. And you get very versatile with your setups.
Where'd you bring out a lure? I thought I saw you grab something there.
Oh yeah. What kind of jerkbait y'all think that is? Oop.
That's that one you showed us last time that's similar to like a mega bass, right?
Oh yeah. It's those $5 ones I got at the show.
I was gonna say, is that your $5 mega bass?
Yeah, buddy.
Have you got a chance?
Yeah,
last time we chatted.
I've got one tied on deck right now. I have I threw it at Percy Priest the other day, but I didn't get a bite on it. Yeah, I went and changed the hooks on it.
What do you throw that on, Wade? You fluorocarbon guy or braid with your jerk baits, or are you?
I don't have monofilament for anything.
Really?
I don't ever tie monofilament on. Nope.
Oh. I kind of like it in the wintertime. I feel like it gives a little bit more and a little bit easier to pop free and all other fun stuff. And you want to fish a little bit higher in the water column, it helps. So.
And then in the summertime, I fish most everything. I mean, like in my crankbaits and stuff, I fish on fluoro, but all my top waters, I fish on braid. Yeah. So, and even my swim jigs a lot, I'll fish on braid too in grass.
Yeah, Alex, I think that might be a good segue, man. With the jerk bait, I want to say the first BPT was one on a jerk bait, right? And Gunnersville, was it BPT or MLF tournament?
The first Elite Series on Okeechobee was one on jerkbait.
Yeah, that Tyler Rivet guy, whatever.
Yeah, Tyler Rivet out there scoping with nobody around him.
Dude, what was so cool about that is like he was catching crappie. He was trying to catch crappie in practice for dinner, and he saw those fish out there.
What did I say about multi-species angling?
Crazy.
So, Chad, you've got the live scope, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I obviously don't have a boat or anything like that, but one thing I've heard about the live scope is one of the easiest ways to get better at reading your live scope is to go crappie fishing. Yeah. Any opinions on that?
I haven't really fished for crappie at all. I haven't really done it.
So, okay, you're just good. You don't need it.
I didn't say that. I'm far from that. I wouldn't be working if I was good.
Yeah, I agree with that. So that's one of the things. One of the other things you're going to be facing being on the back of the boat, man. You can't be up there on the trolling motor, running people. There's going to be another guy making decisions for you, and it's a weird dynamic when you're used to just getting your own boat and getting out there.
But I'm okay with that because I don't know Dale Hollow because there's 2 of them on there, and I don't know Center Hill, so I'm always there for learning. That's my main process.
Right.
Now, when it comes to old hickory, I'm going to be wondering why, if I get someone that's going to a certain spot, it's the water's at a certain degree and this, and I'll be like thinking in my head, like, why are we here?
Yeah. And it's one of the hard things if you are familiar with that part of that body of water is, when you get there and you're something you would rather be doing, but this guy's doing this and you'd rather be doing this, but here you are up on the bank flipping and pitching and you can't figure anything out. It's a mental grind, man. It really is.
Yeah.
It is, but I will always be okay with running down a bank with anything. I will have a crankbait, chatterbait, swim jig, something. Like there's always going to be fish shallow. Always.
Yep. Yeah. Always. There's always fish shallow.
So that's in my wheelhouse. I love fishing shallow. Now, what I need to learn is how to perfect fishing deep. Like that is my
See, Dale Hollow is not as deep as you think, though. So where I'm going to start, I mean, it's a big grass flat, and it's probably no more than 10 feet deep.
Yeah, see, that would be perfect.
I mean, if I can help it, that's where I'm going to stay all day. But the problem is, it's a very, very well-known hole, so there's probably going to be a ton of boats in there, which is fine. I mean, there's plenty. I mean, it's probably a 300-yard area. I mean, it's a big area, but
Dale Hollow gets this reputation for being like a super deep, clear water, finesse fishery. But there's a fantastic population of largemouth up there that live shallow all year, and you can crush them on a spinnerbait or a shallow crankbait or flipping a jig. I mean, you can. So don't go into it just thinking that you need to be ready for both. Definitely, like you need to be ready for your guy to be up there scoping with an A-rig, and you need to be ready to be throwing a square bill on 5-foot rock. I mean, it's an awesome place for that. So.
Well, what I figured that I would do for that, for instance, is I'm going to have a drop shot. I'm going to bring a rod for a jig. I'm going to have my other one with, say, like my pulse lures, my 1/4-ounce swim bait head, because smallmouth love that. Yeah. So I'll have those in 3. And then, of course, I'm going to have my crankbait rod yet, too. Plus, I use that the little snap on it, which you guys know, so I can change my crankbaits out left and right, so I can go from deep, mid-depth, all the way up to shallow, and I could throw a chatterbait on there if I needed to be. You know what I mean? Like that's another rod I'm going to bring to as well. But who knows?
Definitely. Well, there's going to be sometimes you're going to want to ask your boater, like, hey, is there anything that I might not bring that I need to? Because some guys will be like, yeah, man, I'm catching them on this chartreuse jig with a black whatever, blah, and you'll want to have that because if he gets into him on that, you're going to want to have it with you. But are you going to film the tournaments, I assume?
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing those.
This will probably be, I will say, a video. If I don't catch anything, I'm still going to post it.
Yeah.
Normally, if you don't see videos from me for like a little bit, it's because I went out and it was horrible.
Yeah, I mean, the last 2 times I've been out, it just wasn't a good day. So I mean, I just didn't even post anything.
That's fair.
Speaking of posting, Tim Lee has a good question here, and Alex, this won't be relevant for you, but Brandon and Chad, y'all might have some good thoughts here. He asked, if you had to buy one of these items for your boat, power poles, a no tracks, live scope, or lithium batteries, which one of those would y'all get? So maybe Brandon, you, and then we'll go to Chad.
Well, I've got power poles and an Ultrex. Man, I don't know. That's hard to say. I would like to have both. Live scope is going to be the first thing I get, though, and then lithium batteries after that. Because I mean, I've probably got another year out of these batteries, I would say, and then I'm going to have to replace or upgrade, and I probably will upgrade.
Yeah. And Chad, I think you got some of that stuff that we mentioned earlier, so I'll let you kind of talk through it and which ones you like more and what do you want to get next?
Power poles and that stuff. I don't have this on the boat that I have now because I'm going to be getting rid of it, even though I've only had the boat for maybe going on 3 years. But live scope to me has been a dream, especially in the summer when tournaments are going on, especially for docks. I can come into coves now, and the docks that I would have spent a half an hour fishing, thinking that there's fish there around these dock posts and everything else, I can come in at my live scope, drop it in the water, look around, there's nothing there, and I'm gone. I'm not wasting time now in dead water.
That's cool.
So to me, I think time management is more beneficial on my end, that I'm not wasting time where there's no fish yet.
Yeah. On your new boat, do you think you'll outfit it with all that stuff?
Yeah, definitely. With the new boat, eventually, I want to get the new the Z18 Pro, so then I don't have to worry about getting it because it all comes on it.
Oh,
So I can cheat. I can cheat and be like, oh yeah, I might as well just pay like another truck payment on a boat. But it comes with the power poles. It comes with an FS7 right here, an FS7 up in the front. Now I could bring my FS9 with me, and I already have the live active target, so I can have everything linked together. Plus, I'll bring my Helix 7 with me and put that onto as well, so I can have my Humminbird here for my maps when I'm driving, because I like my Lake Master cards on here better than Lorraine's.
Alex, did your last boater, did he have all those accessories that we talked about earlier?
Yeah, he did. So I guess he didn't have lithiums, but guy I fished with for the year, Josh, he's got a nitro. He has a TRX 21, and he's got 215s. It's the Humminbird. So he's got 215s. He's got 360. He's got a 15 on the back or on the console. And we pulled up on a spot. We didn't use it most of the day just because we were cranking shallow. But we pulled up on this spot with just like a bunch of trash. It's like a little community hole. And he pans over. He's like, dude, there's a lot of fish out there. If we can figure them out. And we caught them for an hour, just back to back to back to back. So it was cool. See, the power of that live scope is pretty amazing sometimes.
Yeah. And Gordo makes a good point. He mentioned that sometimes you can't see that fish that's tucked on the bottom. I think you hear a lot of YouTubers kind of talk about that, like, oh, it's a rock pile. They'll fish a Ned rig or a bottom bait, and they'll see, fish come out of the bottom, and go for the lure. And I think that's really neat, But
I was kind of wondering about that with the docks. Like, they don't always suspend on the dock post. Sometimes they'll sit on the bottom in between, or under wherever the shade is. So sometimes it's good to still, if you see a really juicy looking one, skip a jig under there or something.
But it is nice still once you say I have the Lowrance Live active target. So I have mine set up to where, like, once you start seeing a brighter yellow, whether it's on the bottom or not, throw at it, because more than likely it's a fish that's on the bottom. So, like, if you get it set up properly, it's very easy to tell. Like, you can't tell what it is, like what type of fish, but it's a brighter yellow or a brighter orange or a brighter blue. It's just shaded darker, so you know that there's a fish there. So you could actually go after it if it's just down on the bottom versus rocks.
Cool.
Oh, Big Jim did a pretty good live stream the other night, or a dialed in, whatever it was he does. And he was kind of talking about some of that.
I think he uses a Humminbird, right?
Yeah. Which I do too. He was talking about his color palettes and and his contrast, his sensitivity, and all that kind of stuff. He was talking about how he sets his stuff up, and I'm kind of the same way. Every time I go out, I kind of start over. I put all my settings down, and then I turn them up until I got what I want.
That's cool.
I'm excited to see Big Jim out there. Going to be fishing Dale Hollow in a few weeks in the BFLs. Man, I feel like all the local YouTubers are going to be out there, but me. I was looking up last night, man. I think last year had 180, 200 boats, so a lot of folks.
Yep, it's gonna be wild.
Yeah, I bet we get 210, 220 this year.
Probably.
I really do.
You think people are ready to get out and do some fishing?
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
I think
also one thing that happens up there on Dale Hollow is part of the volunteer division, or sometimes the mountain division, will come and fish it as well. So you get the Music City guys plus half of another division, and so you've got 200 something guys. I mean, it's pretty awesome.
See, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing on the April Dale Hollow tournament. On the mountain division, I'm signing up as a co-angler and then fishing the very next day as a boater. So,
Yep.
Chad, you gonna stay up there? You staying the night, or are you gonna drive up?
No, I'm just gonna go up in the morning. I'm gonna wait till I get my boater's info Friday night, and then just talk to him. See what his plans are, where he wants to meet up, what I need to bring, and so forth. And I'm just gonna drive up there. I'm gonna leave early in the morning and just drive up.
Well, it's got to be at least a 2-hour drive for you, right? Because you're up on the
No,
north
it's about an hour and a half at the most.
Oh, that's
Not bad.
Because I'm on the very end of Old Hickory, Mountain Julia, so it only takes me 10 minutes to get to 40.
oh, okay.
And then hop on 40, and I'm just already, I'm at the Mount Juliet exit.
That's cool.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's about 2 hours and change for me. So
Same.
we're staying at Star Point, though.
How are y'all going to be getting ready? Alex, let me start with you. I know you're kind of limited, right? You kind of have to hear back from your buddy. Alex, do you feel like you try to fish a little bit more and get your confidence up to get ready for the tournament?
So I'm actually not able to fish the first Dale Hollow Music City because I'll be on Eufaula with the Bass Nation. So while you guys are up there cranking that rock, I'll be swimming a jig and grass for post spawners. It'll be interesting. But for me, it's a mix. I mean, I love to get out there and fish during the week, whether it's just a pond or mess with a tackle or whatever it is. I just like to be in contact with my gear and make sure it's ready to go. And then I've gotten to where, I try to get ready earlier and earlier during the week. And tonight, after dinner, I just sat out and rigged pretty much for this weekend on Gunnersville. So there's definitely an aspect of waiting until you get your boater's info, but to a point, I know what I want to do. So he won't change a whole lot of that.
What about you, Chad? Are you getting line together, or you think you're gonna try to get a special tackle box just for this fishing trip, or you?
I was just gonna take a couple crankbaits. I'm gonna be very, very simple. I'm gonna I will take a Fritz side, the red one that I love, and I have was it Kentucky blue or Kentucky white? That's the shad. So I'm just gonna go red shad. I'm gonna go shallow. And then I'm going to have your mid-depth red shad and your deeper red shad. So they're more than likely they're going to bite on one or the other. I mean, I might try to bring another chartreuse with me, but I'll have more, I'll say, soft plastics with me for drop shot baits or, crawfish, or I'll just say just creature baits with me than anything. And more terminal tackle, should I say, which you guys don't see me use much when I fish.
Yeah. Now, Brandon, will you watch any old videos or anything? Being a boater, will you try to see what kind of information you can find out about the tournament ahead of time, or are you just going to fish your own style?
I might. So we're actually going up Thursday. I've got a buddy. He's actually fishing as a co-angler this year. And so he and I are going to be traveling together, practicing together. And basically what I told him, and I think Alex mentioned this in one of his videos, if you're staying overnight, take everything. I mean, take everything, and then you can pare it down once you figure out, what pattern everybody's doing or what pattern your boater's doing. So,
yep. It's one of the hardest things as a co to because I'm someone you guys have seen in my videos, and you guys who fish with me, you know that I have a lot of stuff with me. So I'm ready for anything. Like, I can flip the switch and just do anything that I might want to. But paring down to what you're confident in is like the hardest thing as a co-angler.
And when I first started out, I had that same issue. I took the whole tackle store plus 8 rods with me, but the problem I found is that I didn't give stuff enough time to work. Having all those options was more detrimental, I think, than anything. Because I spent most of my time tying on different stuff than I did actually fishing the stuff I was confident in. So, but I mean, people do stuff different ways. That's just me. I know last year I think I had one 3,700 box with, just spare stuff, and then a little terminal tackle box, and then my soft plastics, and that's all I took.
I wish I could
Did
be
you ever
like that.
feel like you wish you had more stuff, or you felt like that was sufficient?
No, I felt like that was adequate, because if you throw something up, you're going to get bit on it. And I mean, even in that one 3,700 box, I had plenty of options, and I mean, plenty of confidence baits, my spinner baits, my crank baits. Because I mean, like you can always get bit on a square bill. You can always get bit on a crankbait. It's like Chad said, crankbait. I mean, that's the first thing I go to. You can always get bit on a crankbait. You can always get bit on a shaky head. I don't care where you're at. You can always get bit on a shaky head and a crankbait. Yep. So I didn't feel like it handicapped me at all. I mean, I didn't. I mean, I got a check last year, so I mean that was good.
So Alex just held up a red crankbait. Wanted to get y'all thoughts on this. It's springtime coming up. A lot of people are throwing red, and we think red is the deal. But I mean, how much of that? Since more people are throwing it, so there's probably more likely people are going to catch fish on it, right? And so, like, I wonder if let's say two of us were throwing Chad. I mean, two of us were throwing a shad color bait, and 2 of us were throwing a red color bait. Y'all think that red crankbait would actually get bit more? And I'll start with Chad on this one first and just get his opinion. You think fish are really keen in on red in springtime, or you think that's a myth?
It all depends. I will say it depends on where you're fishing. If you go out and say you've been catching fish now, just look at a fish's mouth. If you start catching fish and their lips are not red, those are definitely not your crawfish eaters, what I would say. But if you go out to the river, and everything that I've caught so far in Old Hickory, they're all extremely red. So if their lips are extremely red and everything I'm catching right now is red, I'm 100% going red. Because they're down on that bottom eating the stuff off of that dirt. So I'm just going to try to just grind it in the dirt.
Alex, do you think that's true? That red lips is from eating red stuff, or just down at eating stuff on the bottom?
Yeah, I think when you see them wearing that lipstick, that's definitely they're feeding around like hard structure, and so that would naturally lead you to believe that they're eating, mostly crawfish. But sometimes there's bait on the bottom too. So honestly, to me, the red thing, and it's more about confidence. Like I think if you're throwing in an area where there's a fish, he's not going to pass up a shad crankbait if it comes by. He's like, I'm not really in the mood. I think they get to this point in the year and it's just eat everything that I can find. And I think part of the reason that we love the red so much, there's some science behind it, of course, I think, but part of the reason that we love the red so much is because we feel confident when we're fishing it. So we make the right cast, we put it in the right area, we feel good fishing it, and the results. I think it's more due to confidence than like they're on that red and you couldn't catch them on a shad bait necessarily.
Yeah. What about you, Brandon? Or you feel like a lot of your? I know you make lures. You make a lot of red spinner baits or orange with blades and whatnot.
I don't make any red or orange spinner baits. Which of course, there's the chatterbait, which that's called cantaloupe, and it's hard to see in this light, but it's got the copper blade. And I thought I had one right here on my desk, but I make a fire crawl too. That's, I mean, like a very, very aggressive orange and red. But
Yeah.
just like Alex said, it's a confidence thing. Yeah. And, they're not going to pass up a meal of a shad. And when I went to Old Hickory the other day, there were shad flickering, and that's what they were hitting on. So I was throwing a white. I've also got another color called Tennessee shad. It's a more natural color. Which works great on like Dale Hollow Percy Priest little clear lakes, as opposed to like a white on Old Hickory. But as he said, they're not going to pass up a shad color crankbait if it comes right by them.
What you got there, Chad?
This one right here is what it just looks like a cheetah. You know what I mean? Like in my last video was that real big one. Now, what I was excited was I did not have the 6 Sense lipless crankbait that was in this color, and it came in this month's subscription. So now I have every single cheetah colored in every crank style there is now that 6 Sense owns.
There you go.
I bought that one at the show, which there again, it's hard to tell in this light. That's the new what's it called? The new Spro.
Is that the Eureka shad?
No, it's a new one. What the hell does that say? Wamaku shad.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
can you hold it up a little bit in there?
Yeah.
It's below the screen there. The color on it looks
sorry.
really nice.
The red chrome with some. Is that custom?
Like it's a whole lot redder than you can see, but it's
Chrome.
it's almost like a bladed jig up here because it's got oh crap, there you go. It's got the 2 line ties up there.
Yeah.
So you can retrieve it high or you can retrieve it low, pop it and whatever. So yeah, that's kind of cool. I've never thrown one, so yeah. Oh no, I guess we'll see.
But I will say that the color difference in red, depending on where you're at, matters. I will say that.
Yep.
Because right now, I've been getting bit on this neon orange that looks like a Cheeto on Old Hickory, and my favorite crankbait's that Fritz side, and I can't get a bite on it.
That's crazy.
That's a dark red. It's a dark red, but I can use this neon orange one, and I can get bites on it. Throw it in the same exact area.
Because I've got that jig color. It's called Nashville Hot Chicken.
Oh man.
And like some days I can get bit on that. Other days they want like a peanut butter and jelly.
Right.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's just weird. But
to put my lure in front of the screen now.
There you go.
Playing that game. This is what I'm taking to Gunnersville. It's a
I like the chartreuse.
Booyah one knocker with I love the contrast on it. So it's got like a black back with a little bit of glitter on it. It's got the red metal, so yeah, you got your red, hooray. But then it's got this chartreuse. And so in the water, when it's doing its thing, you get both colors basically, which I really like in that grass.
Yeah. I know Alex is going to have to go here in about 10 minutes. And, Brandon was talking about the shad flickering. And I know one of Alex's favorite lures to throw a top water. And so maybe we can talk a little bit about it before Alex goes. And so, Alex, I'm assuming you'll have one tied on for this next week's tournament. Do you think water temperature's just right yet or season is?
I think probably getting a little ahead of ourselves if we're throwing top water just yet. It doesn't mean that I won't try it. But I probably won't go for like, a big spook or something like that. I'll probably go for like a wake bait, maybe something under the surface slightly, or maybe even a fluke, like a weightless fluke in the grass. But I think we'll see with the water temperature. I mean, I don't have a specific water temperature that I target for top water, but it'll be I've already thrown it in the pond, just so everybody knows. I've tried it, and they won't hit it quite yet, but they'll hit the mag draft, I'll tell you that. So we're getting close.
Dad, I know you like throwing that is it called a hybrid hunter? I feel like that's a shallow water crankbait, right? It's not quite a top water, a little bit.
It's like a hybrid hunter, but it's 6 Senses Schwank. They have a 77X and they have the 66, which is the smaller series. I love that which is funny on Old Hickory and Percy Priest. Like when I went out last year in the summer, they were throwing a crankbait and they weren't getting bit, and I'm throwing that and I'm getting bit in the same exact area that they're not, because it runs straight. It don't dive.
Is that the wake?
No, it's the 6 cent schwank. It has the L-shaped
Okay.
bill.
Cool.
So it'll get down to 5 feet and then run straight. And it's phenomenal in grass. I will throw that always around thick grass.
Cool.
Because it doesn't dive down, it just runs straight. So it's so easy to rip out. You're only catching the tops of the grass. It's like pushing it away.
Yep. That's cool.
Man, I gotta get out there. I'll agree with you, man. I that's one lake I cannot figure out, dude. I freaking hate Old Hickory.
I've been fishing that lake my entire life. It's still, I mean, it still frustrates and befuddles me.
But I will say there will be some big bags. The last time I was down there, I spent talking to the guy. They were using those that electrical shock in Old Hickory to try to write down in the back in Langford Cove in the back. That day alone, they had two 9-pounders, a 7, and 3 6s that were in the back.
Damn.
3 feet of water back there.
See, Langford Cove, that shoots branch, right?
Right underneath the bridge in the back.
Right.
But they have said so far in 2023 that they have not, in the past 15 years, caught as many fish or actually weighed them in that are over 5 pounds.
It's
Just
almost good
because
this winter. Like the bags you've seen come out of there have been pretty good.
Yeah, they've been. I mean, I don't know how good Drake's Creek's going to be again because of them dredging everything and killing off all the grass and stuff, which really pushed the bass out. Which,
Right.
I mean,
It'll
you
take
got
a
to know
couple of
that.
years for that to get back.
But I haven't seen this much bait on Old Hickory since I've been down here this winter. Like, it is all over the place. They're just scattered everywhere. There's so much food for these fish to eat. It is unbelievable.
I mean, I saw a ton of it. Well, Tuesday I went out. I was on shift yesterday. But yeah, I mean, Tuesday I went out. But I mean, they wouldn't bite anything. I don't know if they were deep or where they were, but I mean, there was bait everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, birds, tons of birds, tons of bait. And I mean, they were flickering already. I mean, it was like 52 degree water temps, I think.
I haven't seen it like that since I've been here.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on out there.
We've had a really warm spring, and I think it's gonna be a weird season. It's gonna be a weird spawn. I think it's gonna be a very prolonged spawn because we're already getting up to those temperatures. I mean, dude, it was 80 degrees today. It's February. That ain't right. It's gonna mess fish up.
I mean, next week it might be snowing. I mean, that's just how it goes in Tennessee. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's gonna make these transitions even harder than they usually are to me, because the transition will be so much longer. Like that, you know, when you go from pre-spawn to the spawn, that's usually a good transition because they're still willing to bite. When you go from spawn to post-spawn and then from post-spawn to summer, it just gets harder and harder and harder. And I think it's.
I tell you what, though, but it seems like to me, I think Dale Hollow and Percy Priest, I think, are a little bit more patternable. They're a little bit more predictable. I think Dale Hollow especially is that way, but Percy Priest to a certain extent. I mean, Old Hickory, those bass, they threw out the book. They forgot how to be bass. Like, they're just all over the place,
Well, Cumberland River can change temperature so quickly depending on how they pull the water from the Caney. I mean, that water is 55 degrees year round. So when they pull from the Caney, it can drop 10 degrees in a day.
Yeah.
And that is just.
But that's what I'm worried about. That's what I'm worried about, is because how they fluctuate. I don't like the lake here because back home they didn't fluctuate like that. Everything was drop winter pool. Every lake back home was winter pool. All right, but here with the river system, now say that they come up to spawn early. All right, now we don't get any rain. Now they come up and spawn in the shallow because the water's high. All right, 2 days, not even 2 days later, a day later, they can drop that lake 3 feet. Now the eggs that they just laid are out of water. They're all going to die. So, like, I don't get why they don't monitor it enough on this lake when spawning season comes, because they fluctuate with a 2-foot drop constantly.
Well, the reason they don't is because they know that pretty much like smallmouth and spots, they spawn a whole lot deeper than smallmouth do, and I mean, than largemouth do. And largemouth, in my experience, they typically don't spawn until water temps hit about 64, 65. As where smallmouth, they'll do it, high 50s, low 60s.
And not all fish spawn at the same time. So one
Right.
2-day swing isn't going to wreck an entire population. But
Mm.
also we have to keep in mind that the reason they do that water fluctuation, it's not for fishing. We don't bring near enough
Just
money.
for flooding.
Yeah, it's for flooding. But
They don't care nothing about us.
but think about I was talking about this with my buddy the other day. If the people who control this kind of stuff paid attention to the kind of money that anglers are willing to spend on the local communities, like when you think about it, man, when you got 180 people traveling to Del Hollow, think about the surrounding communities and the economic impact it has on those places. And they don't track that. If they track that, and if these, and it's a lot more complicated than just the money, but I really think that's what it comes down to is the money part of it.
My whole thing is everybody, all four of us here, anyone that knows anything about fishing, you want to catch a big fish, you're going to go to Texas. Texas takes care of their wildlife. They care about their ecosystem. All right. We're not that far different temperature wise.
Oh.
So why can't we do stuff in Tennessee here like they do there?
Told you.
And think about the money think about all the people that they could come in, hotels, this, that, all the money, because you have all these people coming in here because, oh, I can catch 10-pounder here, I can catch 10-pounder there. All the money that they just don't think about that.
Yeah, they're just talking about like OHIV, and how.
But they're putting that money back into it. They're putting that money back into the ecosystem, so they're able to do the lunker program and do all that stuff because all the money that fluctuates in there, the tournaments, this and that, they all get a cut.
Yep.
I would love to see. TWRA put a few thousand F1 Florida strains in Old Hickory. I don't know if they would survive. They would probably go through the dam, get down in the river, but that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll do. Like a lot of the recreational traffic too, like a lot of the wakeboarders, they
ruin it.
In the summertime, they take a lot of precedence too. And that's what sucks.
Yep. It's part of just the natural. Neither of us own the water. The wake guys don't own the water. The fishermen don't own the water. It's just a resource, and it's being managed in a way that isn't favorable to the fishermen.
Yeah.
But, it's going to take, if we want this to improve, in my opinion, it's going to have to take some local stuff happening, not anything from any, government or anything like that. It's going to take like a local tackle shop or something come in and do it, because they'll do that in other states. Local tackle shops will, hey, we're doing a tournament, we're raising this amount of money, and we're going to donate 10,000 fingerlings to the lake.
Yeah,
that's something that happens that we just haven't seen up here.
Now, Chad, if you want a chance at big bass, you need to look into like TWRA public lakes, like Williamsport or Laurel Hill, even Browns Creek Lake. They stock those with Florida strains, and I think a couple years
Eastern Tennessee.
Most of them are west. Actually, there's a couple here in middle. Most of them are west, but I think in Williamsport a couple years ago they shocked up a 16-pounder. There's some big old fish in there. Yeah,
that's not too far from me. I better get out there.
Let's see, Williamsport. I fished Williamsport. Biggest one I've ever caught out at Williamsport was probably 7 pounds, I think. There's much, much bigger fish in there though, and it's about 2 hours from me, hour 45, 2 hours, something like that. But yeah,
that's cool, man.
Hey guys, I've enjoyed catching up with y'all a little bit. It's amazing how fast an hour goes by. But let's try to
yeah, no doubt.
A minute or two. So maybe we can end with the closing thoughts of what lure you think you'll be buying or fishing, lure or tackle or rod or something like that in the next week or two. And so Brandon, I'll start with you. I even though you make your own lures, but is there any certain kind of fishing tackle that you've been eyeing?
Well, getting ready for this BFL at Dale Hollow. I got to get some terminal tackle for one thing, and then probably crankbaits. I'll probably get some DTs and some rock crawlers. That's really what I'm going for. I make everything else, so just hard baits.
Yeah. What about you, Chad? You got anything you've been eyeing or wanting to buy?
Only thing I don't have right now is a nice selection of the money badgers. I do not have those yet. So that can pair up nice with my Fritz side. So I can have your tight wobble that stays flat. So like it works great in grass and it's almost like a jerk bait. Like it'll just sit there. Versus I go to the money badger. All right. And now I can dig down in the rocks. So I can go back and forth with, both of those. But what's beneficial is running 12-pound fluorocarbon. You can on my cranking rod because it's a moderate action. So I can run a spinnerbait on that if I want with 12-pound fluoro. I can run my crankbaits. I can run finesse baits, swim baits, and all that stuff on 12-pound fluoro. And also having that BFS reel, I can actually go down to 1/8 ounce and all that stuff. But that's why I like to run 12-pound period because I can do a lot of stuff with 12-pound line.
Yeah, Gordo's mentioning he wants more backdraft jig heads. I don't have any of those. Might have to try some of those myself.
Yeah, I'll probably be ordering some hooks next week. I'll order plenty. So
I'm trying to con him into making a red swim jig. Fire.
Red swim jig.
I've got it. They're on the clear coat now. So they won't be quite ready by Saturday, but you'll have them soon.
Don't get mad if I end up catching a ton of Old Hickory. All right, with that.
I hope you do.
Alex, did you already get your new setup in there, everybody?
Yeah, I was going to show everybody. I went ahead and pulled the trigger and bought a glide bait setup. So you guys probably saw it there in the background, but she's here.
Nice.
Got the SLX swim bait rod.
How big?
7'8" heavy. It's not huge, but it's got a really nice handle on it. Nice backbone here.
Nice and long.
With the Tranks 300 with the power handle.
Oh, nice.
So,
wow.
I am really excited I'm going to start throwing this probably here in just a few weeks. But especially this summer, chasing the big stripe, it's going to go.
Cool.
Now, quick question.
By the way, that's the new color. That's the new color, pond scum. I don't know if you can see it or not, but
Nice.
That was tough for me.
I like it.
Now, I want to ask both of you two. I was thinking about throwing 2 different style 6-inch traces with me to take the Dale Hollow, the slow sink ones, the 6-inch ones. What's your opinion, both of you two, on that one?
What is the trace? Is it a jerk bait?
No, it's a jointed swim bait. Right under a glide bait almost. The glide baits only has one of them joint wide. The trace has 2.
I'm the wrong guy to ask about that. I don't throw them.
Alex?
I'm also not super experienced with them yet. I'm getting there. But my only warning is that style of fishing. Number one, you really want clear water. And so you don't know where you're going to be on Dale Hollow. Number 2, to fish that effectively, you really need to be doing it very specifically with your cadence. You can't just be going down the bank, tossing it around, doing whatever. You need to be paralleling something, targeting laydowns, doing stuff like that. And so
I love it on Old Hickory. I use it all the time on Old Hickory, but I'm asking for that type of body of water.
If you find that clear water, sure, anything can work if you're confident in it. I mean, but like I said, I don't know if you're going to be in this situation to be able to fish it effectively.
All right.
So that's just my opinion, though. You should do whatever you're confident in.
I just didn't know if the water, but then again, I see guys in Texas when you watch Ben Milliken using that all the time, catching 10-pounders. So
you can find whatever watercolor you want on the Hollow. Seriously, you can find the chocolate milkiest, whatever, and you can find crystal clear 10-foot viz. So it goes to both spectrums.
Yep.
All right. On the last note here, I just want to thank Alex because I'm actually shooting from the garage today. I felt like the internet connection was really good. Alex helped me put a wireless access point here, and so I'll make a plug for you there, Alex, because that's something you used to do, from a living, right? Was do like networking and whatnot. So you want any networking stuff, Alice could tell you a little bit more about it real quick before we end.
Yeah, I'm all, that's the industry I'm in, is home automation, home AV right now. And I've been doing commercial and, commercial installs, theatrical installs, and doing all that stuff for ever since I graduated college. So if anybody needs tech help, like if your cable's going out or your internet or whatever, let me know. I can help out.
I need a lot of tech help. I may be calling you soon.
You got my info. Hit me up. And so what I did for Johnny was in his garage. That's where his studio is, and he was having some internet issues. So we pulled a wire out to his garage, put in a wireless access point, so he can do the Wi-Fi out there, which is really strong, or he can hook it up to the actual wired network and have really strong network out there. So that's one of the things I can offer. But
I'm fixing to turn my tackle cave, like where I do all my final prep on the lures, like clear coat and skirts and stuff like that. One wall of that's going to be kind of dedicated to what like Big Jim has got, and maybe not all the live stream stuff, but I'm going to get like the Mac Studio and all that kind of stuff just for faster YouTube, process and editing. But yeah, I may be calling you.
Well, hit me up
on some of that to get all that set up. So
that goes for everybody in the chat too. I'm happy to help.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, guys. Good luck. Tight lines this weekend. I'm sure we'll be chatting. Until next time.
I will let you
Good
know
deal,
after Saturday's tournament on the river.
Good luck, boys.
I look forward
Thanks for
to
having me on.
All right, good seeing you guys. We'll see y'all soon.
Take it easy.